Are you eating good chocolate or bad chocolate? Now, I know some of you are wondering, is there such a thing as bad chocolate? Well, that's debatable, but I definitely know there are things that are called chocolate, that are labeled chocolate, that are definitely not good for you. They might taste great, but they have much more of a downside to your body than the good that they're doing. So a lot of information is out there about how good chocolate is for you. Now remember, anything we find in nature has nutrients in it is good for us, but the problem is that most of the chocolate out there has been so bastardized by how it's actually refined and treated, and it's bumped up with sugar and all kinds of fillers and chemicals, that basically there is really no goodness in it. And what's happening is we're eating it, and because it's full of these refined sugars and milk that has opiates in it, it gives us this real, and obviously the chocolate itself, which is theobromine, which is the food of the gods, it tastes amazing, it gives us that sweet hit, gives us a drug-like hit, and we think, man, isn't this great that it's good for us? And the reality is it probably isn't so much. So what you're going to find is as you move to the healthier chocolates that have less of those things in it, it's going to have a different impact on your body. And often what we're wanting when we're wanting the chocolate is not so much the chocolate flavor, not so much the sweetness, but the drug-like reactions that it actually gives our bodies. And so when you start to move to the healthier chocolates, you're going to notice you feel differently. And maybe it doesn't actually take you into that drug-like state like the refined chocolates do. So in a sense, it becomes less satisfying because you're not getting the same experience you used to have, and you're also adapting to a different flavor. So I want you to keep that in mind when you start to move and transition into the healthier chocolates. And also keep in mind that most of that information out there about how healthy chocolate is actually sponsored by chocolate companies. Not all of it, but if it is coming from nature, it's going to have nutrients in it, but closer to how you actually find it in nature. So what I'm doing today is I'm showing you how to make a delicious chocolate ball recipe. So this chocolate ball recipe is different to the one I have in my book, Return to Food, in that I literally just had a workshop coming up. I wanted to feed them something. I was in a hurry. I didn't have all the ingredients, and I threw these together, but it was a miracle because I measured everything and I wrote it down. Never happens for me. And it's literally the best tasting chocolate ball recipe I've ever had. So this is how simple it is to make. You need a food processor, okay? It doesn't have to be brilliant, but you need a food processor. And it doesn't work as well in a high power blender like a Vitamix because you need more blade space. And what I'm adding into it is some raw cashew pieces, and I use the pieces because they're less expensive and it doesn't really make a difference because you're blending it all up. I use raw almonds, okay, so unpasteurized if you can get them because that means there's more nutrients in them. I don't soak either of those, so they're going in dry. The next thing I'm going to add in are some pumpkin seeds, okay, just raw pumpkin seeds. The lighter green ones are better than the darker green ones. And then I'm going to add in some hemp hearts. Hemp hearts are a wonderful food. Tons of nutrients in it, great source of fiber, and add a really delicious, unique flavor to it. Now remember, they're hemp hearts. There's nothing in there that's going to make you high, apart from some fiber. I don't know if things moving through your body gets you high, it might do it, but there's nothing psychoactive in it. Next ingredient I'm going to use is some raw cacao. Now raw cacao, that's our chocolate, okay? It hasn't been cooked, so unlike Dutch cocoa or most cocoas that you find in the supermarket shelves, they've actually been cooked, and in the cooking process it destroys a lot of the nutrients, the beautiful nutrients. The thing that actually makes cacao a healthy food is actually destroyed through cooking. So you can actually get beautiful flavor with the raw cacao. There's flavonoids in it, there's magnesium, there's something called PEA, which is like the love drug, the thing that makes you feel so good after having chocolate, theobromine, which is one of the reasons they called it, theobroma was like food of the gods, if I'm not mistaken. And that's going to give you your lovely chocolate flavor without the downside. The next ingredient is some vanilla bean powder. Vanilla bean powder is literally using the whole bean, and it's just pulverized up. You can do it yourself, but it might take you a very long time to do it. In the absence of vanilla bean powder, You can actually scrape the seeds from a whole vanilla bean or use a teaspoon of vanilla essence that you have. Just make sure it's natural. And then once this is all blended up into a meal, so it's like a fine meal, I then start to add my dates. And I add the dates in one by one, making sure it's really well incorporated until the mixture comes together so I can actually form balls. So you may not use all of the dates depending on how dry your ingredients are and how moist your dates are. That's why I add them in one by one and keep checking and blending. And then basically once it comes together and you can form balls from it, you just turn the food processor off, start to roll it into balls. You might like some tiny little ones. You might like some, jumbo balls for eating, but I like to have the smaller ones because psychologically, when you have smaller ones and you eat more of them, you actually have this sensation that I've had 10 instead of just having one big one and it's gone. Little trick, works for me, may not work for you, but why not try it? And lastly, remember this is something that you can enjoy without having to worry about the downsides. But as always, there's lots of energy, lots of resources that have gone into this. So appreciate that it would take you a long time in nature to source all of this and make all of it, and start to eat what you're eating mindful of that. And I promise you, it will change your relationship with chocolate and how you feel about it. And you will get a pleasure on another level that all that kind of junky, refined sugar chocolate could not possibly give you.